Welcome to my show.
It's a pleasure to be here.
It's a pleasure to have you.
Thank you.
So what's going on? What's new?
Uh, you know, uh, just trying to get everything going in my life.
Mm,
Yeah.
that sounds
Uh,
sounds like a lot.
it is, yeah. Uh, I've fallen behind a bit, and I'm trying to pick myself back up.
Well, that's good. As long as you're trying, right?
Yeah.
So I wanna get in. I want to get into it real quick. The reason I want you on my show is because I want to talk about astrology.
Astrology.
Yes,
Okay.
and I know you are one of the few people that knows a lot regarding astrology. So I wanted to prick your brain on and I wanted to pick your brain and your thoughts on it. I wanted to know how did you first stumble upon astrology and what caused your attention to it so much?
Okay, so it started really young. It started as like a kid, being like 5 or 6, and everybody in the family rep their own signs really hard.
Mm-hmm.
Both parents were Leos, very proud Leos. Um, my grandparents were very proud Scorpios. Um, and even my grandfather has a big Scorpio chain. So astrology, the basics of it, were always just like there. Um, and also just kind of being a part of your identity. Um, my older cousin Sarah, who's a Capricorn, she was also already into astrology and much older than me, and she had books on it, and that's when it started. So I started reading astrology books at that age, and it started like a child like interest. So it started with reading books, and then it went on to going on to websites catered to children about astrology. And the interest didn't really start fully forming until I was about still kind of young, like 12. And I started learning about something more special called a birth chart, where basically you aren't just a Leo, you aren't just a Scorpio. There's a lot more workings behind the scenes that go in with astrology. And that's when it really started for me.
Wow, that's that's incredible. That balance between having two parents, Leos, and having grandparents that were both Scorpion. Uh, that balance must be was probably tremendous, right?
Um,
Like, how was
in
that?
a,
How, because I know your mom and your dad are Leo, and then your grandparents. How different of people they are, or like,
well, that's the thing. So basically, like people, you could be a Leo, your mom could be a Scorpio. I could like I'm a Scorpio, my mom's a Leo, but we are very different people. But at the end of the day, we are still like family. I was raised by a Leo, so I still inherit in a way
certain traits?
character certain traits or characteristics that wouldn't be normally pertaining to my sign anyway. Uh, there are just certain core distinct differences. Whereas a Scorpio is generally characterized by being more secretive or mysterious. Um, my grandparents may sometimes have that effect where they never are trying to talk about their own lives, but rather about what's going on in other people's lives, you know.
Hmm.
Um, a Leo sometimes can also be secretive, but in a different way. So, in that way, like for my mom, for example, she took in that secretive side from her parents.
Got it. Got it.
But still, if you're being successful a bit, that's where the Leo's different. You might post a success, you might share in success. where Scorpio may not even share a success. Not because like they want to necessarily keep it a secret, but because they don't feel the need to share the success either.
Got it. Got it. So
Hmm.
what's like normal traits for a Scorpion? Because I know like people have like, oh, that's Leo, or that's a Libra, or that's definitely
Hmm.
or is that Taurus, Toro?
Taurus, yeah.
Yeah, Taurus sign. So like, what are the most common like features or traits that a Scorpion tends to have that you know if somebody's walking the street, or maybe I'm just going into depth, too detailed
Hmm.
of it, but like, what are like, because my son is my son's a Scorpio. He was born November 12th, and he's a Scorpio. So like, what traits can I expect from a Scorpio?
Um, so Scorpio, generally their characteristics are embodied by, you know, a mysteriousness to them. They always have a mysteriousness to them. They're considered highly charismatic. Scorpio is usually given a big stereotype of being kind of like sexual beings, but that
Okay.
has to go into the charisma part of it and the mysterious part of it. A lot
Got it.
of people equate mysterious to like, a sexy thing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, and they're also considered very, very fierce, actually. Um, like signs are
Fears as in like somebody would fear them, or their appearance or the way they carry themselves can be fearful.
so this does depend on the Scorpio, but it can be very different. Sometimes the way they may present themselves, even in public, they may seem like offstandish, like not the person you would approach.
Yeah.
Or they could be super alluring to you, so you do want to get to know them, but they may not also tell you about them to ever
Got it.
get to really know them.
Got it.
Um,
Got it.
they can be fierce for their family, so they're considered a very strong sign because they actually share this with Leo. They're a fixed sign, so they're stubborn. You know, they're they think the way they go about things is the right way, basically, kind of. So they could be their fierceness comes out in their family or when they're whatever they hold dear to them feels attacked. That's when they come out. The little stinger, if you want
Yeah.
to give it a
Yeah.
metaphor,
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
little stinger.
All right. So let me ask you. I know this is kind of ignorant questions
Hmm.
uh, on my behalf because I'm not too knowledgeable when it comes to horoscopes. When it comes to horoscopes, like the Chinese, right? Am I saying that
Hmm.
correctly? I apologize if I'm
Chinese
not.
zodiac.
Yeah, the Chinese zodiac has like more than 12, right? Does that
I
go? Is that almost symbolize the same thing as our traditional zodiac signs, or is it different? And because
so
they have more, right? They have more. They have so many more animals, and
so if I'm not mistaken, I do think they are still characterized by 12 different animals still.
hmm
They stick to animals, something that are West because this is considered Western astrology, what we're talking about right now.
okay,
Um, they still have 12 signs, but it's all animals where the Western doesn't necessarily have all animals. Because like a Libra, for example, isn't animal based, you know, or
yeah.
Sagittarius. So Chinese does draw on just animals. They also draw on elements, so like metal, wood, fire. They do that as well.
So they
And
have
the biggest,
like elements factors inside their zodiac.
yeah, Western astrology does too, but it's very different.
Got it. Got it.
Um, so yeah, so Chinese zodiac, the biggest difference about them is their zodiac changes every year, whereas Western we change every month and a half or so. You know,
Hmm.
there's about a month for every sign in Western astrology, so we go through 12 signs every year, Whereas Chinese zodiac, it's one sign for the whole year. If you're born in that year, you're that sign, just like everybody else.
So like one year is like I don't know the dragon, the next year is the tiger.
Yeah, exactly.
So
So you're
every
born
12
in the,
years you'll touch finally the full.
you'll restart.
Got it, got it.
Yeah.
That's very interesting. I read something about that. I don't know if this is true, but just to pick your brain a little bit. So every zodiac, at least from the Western side, right, on our side,
Hmm.
represents a planet, right?
Yes. Hmm.
So what happens? I can't remember so long ago. I read something about that. They found more planets, and that because they found more planets, our zodiac that we use on a daily basis doesn't doesn't match up, coincide with one another.
Are you talking about specifically when they introduced a new zodiac sign to our to our zodiac?
They did.
There was a thing at one point that kind of went hand in hand with that, where our the way we had did the zodiacs originally didn't the signs originally didn't match up, and they threw in a 13th sign. It had actually, it depends on like the astrologer, but like that sign is kind of considered non-existent.
What
Um,
sign? Like what was the animal or element? What?
so I
Because
do
I have
actually,
no knowledge of that. I honestly.
I I forgot how it was pronounced, but it's like Ophiuchus or something. It's like it's like, if I'm not mistaken, it was symbolized by like snakes or something
Mm,
along those lines, and it's not really used. The zodiac still remained the same, and the way we the planets were studied according to signs still remained the
got it. So like
same.
if if that new sign would come into play, right? How would you classify a child born under that, like, because every month it's a zodiac sign. Hi, buddy.
So so like basically, what do you call it? It's like it's hard to say necessarily like if they were born under a sign what they would have been or characterized as, because the way, if I'm not mistaken, the way that sign was thrown in, it would have pushed all the signs towards the end of the year off, right?
Got it. Yeah.
um and it's basically in the middle of like two different signs, like times of point, like times, right, like dates. So it's like it took characteristics borrowed from other traits to make up that sign.
Okay. So that sign
Y-
basically has a little bit of everything then.
Yeah, it's like, because it's like, so like it came out so much later and it's like really disregarded. It takes
You mean
away from like,
decades and decades and decades and decades later?
yeah, actually more like centuries later.
Yeah.
So it's like completely disregarded, and it would share basically the characteristics of the two signs it would have been in the middle of. You got what I'm saying?
Yeah. I have a special guest behind me.
Oh yes, my little Scorpio.
How you doing? How you doing, Chunky Monks? So like, what kind of music? All right, what kind of music does a Scorpio like? You know that every Scorpio will listen to that. Like what kind of
I
music do you
mean,
listen to?
I guess it still all ultimately depends. You know, a stereotypical answer would be probably something like rock, you know, something grungy. If it's hip hop, still something with heavy beats in it. Um, but again, it all like depends on the Scorpio, because of the birth charts, which I was talking about earlier. It talks about every other underlying thing going on, like astrology wise, with you.
Yeah.
So sometimes there may be a Scorpio who is born that does have certain characteristics of a Scorpio, but because of that birth chart that they were born under or with, they may not seem like a Scorpio at all, you know?
Yeah. So because they, I get it. I get it.
Hmm.
That is very interesting because especially the horoscope, at least in the Latin community, it's very popular. Like I remember growing up, and my grandparents and my aunt used to buy the newspaper, and the first thing they would go and it was the horoscope section, and
Yeah.
they will read it. They will read it, and you'll see them pondering their thoughts, and they will read it, and they like this is they'll live through that, and
Hmm.
they'll make that day on this is what my horoscope said, and this is what's
Hmm.
gonna happen, and at the bottom it had a lucky number, and they play that lucky number in the lotto, and hopefully they got uh, they won, but
Yeah.
it's very popular. Like why do you think they you know they live through that and they trust it so much?
So I do think and believe that on on one part, as a society, liking to know about your sign or what your sign represents or the characteristics that come with your sign, I think that does come from, on one hand, it's like the same feeling as doing personality quizzes online. You feel like if you read it and you relate to what your sign is describing, it's
Yeah.
kind of feeling like you're relating to something. You were seen by that. And you'll attach yourself to it because you feel like, a Cancer reads what a Cancer is and relates to it so much. They're like, that's a part of my identity, you know? And to read about the horoscopes, it kind of just draws into the whole feeling of like, you're being seen. This is something for you. This is your sign. And especially overall, the way horoscopes are or have been given to society or to just a group of people, it will always come with, there's a negative side, but there's always a positive. If you ever look at horoscopes, they will, even if you have a negative horoscope, they will still give you a positive at the end of the day. And everybody loves to read about positivity,
Yeah.
especially if it has to do with you and luck,
Like
you know?
when I first learned about horoscope, I think it was watching my grandparents watch Walter Mercado. Like I know who's Walter Mercado. I'm not sure
Of course.
if he was a big influence on you learning as well, but I know my grandparents used to sit like was it a Rojo Vivo or some show that they would wait for like certain time, and they would sit in front of the TV and just wait and listen. And then he would say, I remember my grandmother watching it, and he was talking about one of my uncle's sign, and he was saying you gotta wear a red lasso, or it was something red he had to wear so he could give him good luck. And my grandmother literally went up and down looking for my uncle just to give him a red lasso, put him on him, and he had to walk through that for that whole week. Like like
Walter Mercado specifically, he became, especially before online astrology and online astrology communities were a thing. Walter was basically like a messiah for like astrology, you
yeah,
know?
and then in the
He,
80s and 90s he was huge. It was huge.
yeah, he spoke the equivalent to like astrology Bible for many people. And I do remember him a lot. I loved him a lot growing up, actually, as a
Have you
child.
have you gotten to watch the documentary they have on Netflix?
Yeah,
It's
and
pretty it's
they
pretty
made a
good.
They made a wonderful point in that documentary, and I do think it's part of the reason he was so listened to and was so adored by so many people, even people that didn't necessarily believe in astrology like that, but would still tune in. It had to do with not only his show, with the fact that he would dress so elegant and be
So
so, you
flamboyant.
know, so flamboyant, theatrical in what he did. It was also having to do, again, with that main message of that positivity. And it's true. He did the same thing. Even if necessarily it may be unlucky what he was telling you, don't worry though, because there's still something good on a part
Yeah,
of your astrology.
there's still that positive factor that reassuring that doesn't matter. He's letting you know it doesn't matter what happens. Everything's gonna be okay. And that's what I
Exactly.
think. I agree with you 100%. That people gravitated him so much because he wasn't trying to be mean. He was just trying to be nice. And I think that's what's wrong with the world nowadays. That we don't have enough. Uh, just be nice. I mean, everybody has to have a reason, and I don't think to be nice, you have to have a reason. Just say, hey.
Hmm.
And I think that's why he impacted a culture because he
Hmm.
was Hispanic. He's Puerto Rican.
Yeah.
In Luro. Um, and he impacted America. He impacted people in India and around the globe. People that could even speak Spanish, learned
Hmm.
it because of him, and it's fucking amazing.
Yeah. Um, in today's world where astrology is has moved mostly to online, you know, I will say that overall, it is still a very positive thing to get into. It's still a very positive thing to learn about, even if you're not necessarily into the future telling stuff, the horoscope side of things. Um, just knowing more about like what a birth chart is, what your birth chart specifically is for yourself, and just learning about these things and interacting with what astrology is in a more deeper way
Hmm.
can actually end up benefiting you,
Now,
you know?
for people listening that don't really know what's a birth chart, can you explain, glance a little bit on top and explain what is a birth chart for the people that don't know?
So basically a birth chart, so as you have mentioned before, like signs are ruled by planets, right? And birth chart kind of takes in a little bit of like astronomy, which is looking at the planets itself,
Hmm.
and it takes a bit of astrology. Um, so the way astrology even works, like the reason why I say you're a Leo and I'm a Scorpio is because when we were born, our planet, like Earth, was in a specific, like, it was sitting in a specific place in its orbitation. So it was in the path of Leo or in the path of Scorpio, which are star constellations. You got what I mean? Um, so when you are born, a birth chart takes all the planets um, and where they were aligned during the time of your birth, if you understand what
Yeah. Just give me one sec. I'm having technical difficulties here.
I mean. No problem.
What? This died. No worries. I
It's okay.
will. All right, got it. We're back. Sorry, guys. Can you
Okay.
hear me?
Yes.
All right, got it. Perfect.
Okay. So what was I saying? So yeah, so when you're born, basically it takes like how the planets were aligned, right? When you were born, and basically see where each planet was falling in which sign, right? Um, and once it calculates it like a chart, you will see the planets that they show will be the sun, which is basically the sign you're born under that everybody knows. You have your moon, which is technically not a planet itself, but it is a major body, uh, you know, it's a major body in space, it's a major deal. So that is still taken into account. And so are the rest of the planets. So, Mercury, Venus, um, your Mars, and they also take in your Jupiter, your Saturn, they even take in your Pluto. Um, Now, the major parts of your chart that affects you as an individual is considered your sun, your moon, your Venus, and your Mars. Those four signs. Oh, and your Mercury. I'm sorry. So five. Um, the reason they're considered the ones that have to affect you more personally, one on one, is because this has to go with like astronomy side, like actual space, like knowledge. Those things all move quickly, you know. They have a much more shorter turnaround in how long it takes for them to do a full rotation, you know. So especially say like the moon changes phases every few days. So even though you are a Leo with your own chart, with your own moon and everything, somebody that could have been born at nighttime from you, say you were born in the morning and somebody was born at nighttime, they could have the same exact chart as you, but they'll have a different moon, which will make them a slightly different person from you
Mhm.
instinctively, you know?
That's very interesting. Do you think? And here's this is very important. What I want to ask: do you think,
Yeah.
because knowing this chart and horoscope and all this information, uh, and just because, like you stated before, each sign has the different trait of characters, that
Hmm.
this maybe help. I don't know, maybe like science and people with mental health, and and people that, because of these traits, they're able to help them. Somebody, let's say, that is suffering depression, somebody, I don't know, so many things is out there. But do you think that knowing this information and knowing that, Leo, he has this, he has anger issues,
Mm.
it's like, it's rarely 1 out of 5 people that are Leo are not angry. It's very rare. But do you know if this can help them anyway?
I do believe it does, um, especially going as deep as looking up what your chart is, you know. I do think it's very valuable information for somebody to know about themselves because it can tell you so much about yourself. It's kind of like a personality thing. So it's like it'll tell you things you already know, but it can also tell you things about yourself that you kind of know about yourself, but you don't know how to develop.
Yeah.
You know, there are people that feel like they can be very social or very outgoing, but they don't know how to, or they can feel again like that they fall head into first into things without fully thinking what they're throwing themselves into, right? Those type of things. A chart can break those things down for you, explain why or what's going on with that, and how to better yourself in that front. It's basically a blueprint to yourself and a blueprint to perhaps achieve your best kind of life for you. Because
Yeah.
everybody has personal needs to live a fulfilled life, you know?
Yeah. I definitely think it helps, because certain people tend to be lost, and I think uh, somewhat of it can help people find themselves, and have better understanding of themselves, so that they better themselves. It's self improvement. I
Yeah.
think I think it's very important. My thing is, like, we live in an age that I feel like everything is so. I feel like everything is so full. We're stuck in traffic.
Mm-hmm.
So, like you're well educated on this topic, and but I bet you if I sit with somebody else, they'll also have a different view, and just don't have the same. I want to say passion, but the same weight of education. Like you don't. It's so it's so heavy, it's so full that you don't know who's giving you, the right information or the right horoscope or, giving you the right feeling that its purpose is to give you, like going back to Walter
Mm-hmm.
Mercado. Walter Mercado, he will say what he will say, but at the end, it will still be positive. A lot
Yeah.
of people do this horoscope thing and they won't give you the same satisfaction or even provide you the hope you need. That's why people just buy the newspaper so they can just read that short sentences to make themselves feel better and feel connected with themselves and with the world.
Yeah. Um, I do think first I do think astrology does get a bad has had a bad reputation. Because in terms of mainstream or it being easily accessible to bigger audience, it does have to do with horoscopes, like just horoscopes, which are basically telling you like, future tellings, right?
Mm-hmm.
More so about focusing on you as an individual, you know, and that's where many people will not believe in astrology or just disconnect from astrology because they have that feeling of, well, I'm a Cancer or I'm a Taurus, but so is
Yeah,
like a million other people in this world. And how does this all apply to a million people in this world?
yeah.
You know?
Like I don't know if you ever heard about Miss Cleo.
Oh, wait, give me 1 second. Hold on. I don't hear you. Give me 1 second. Okay, hello?
I don't know if you ever heard of Miss Cleo. She
Oh,
was
yeah, I
like
love Miss
like
Cleo.
goes Miss Cleo for your fever reading. I know she
Yes, I
got
love
she got
Cleo.
caught. She got caught. Damn, it's so long ago. I was a kid when I first heard of this. She got caught because everything's fraud. Like back in the
Yeah.
days in the '90s, it was real big because everyone was like, even the detective to solve a case, they would contact one of these astrologers that could tell the future or past, and it was a fraud.
Yeah.
I don't know nowadays in the 2020 era because everything is so gray nowadays that you don't you well I can't tell but fucking yeah, Miss Cleo, man. Call for your free rating. Just psych it. one eight
Yeah.
hundred
See, so stuff like that is what started getting it gives even worse reputation.
Yeah.
But at this, like now where we're at in astrology or even in like online community and all that type of thing, it's more so it's kind of like a science of sorts because we do bring in now birth charts into play,
Mm-hmm.
um if you get an online reading from an astrologer, a good reading would be them breaking down your birth chart and not just telling you your future. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, the way to tell if you gotten a good reading from an astrologer is if they can break down your whole birth chart, let you know your whole birth chart, and maybe even give you maybe some of that future tellings, but pertaining to your birth chart instead of an umbrella horoscope of the future.
Got it. Um, because I learned so much from you when we sit down, not just here right now in the podcast, but even when we're outside and we sit down, and you start breaking down because, I know for a fact when we have sit down in the past and have our conversation, I get to learn a little bit better of myself. When you take down, you break it down, and hey, usually this happens, and this characteristic, this that you have is this and why, and just break it down. And I think it's so amazing because people can't break it down.
Yeah.
People will give you, and I know this for a fact because I grew up in a time that I grew up with a lot of old people.
Yeah.
And they will talk to you about everything, and that everything was a sign or as a prediction, or I could see into the future, but nobody broke it down.
Yeah.
Like the way when we speak and have our conversation, you break it down, that you give the understanding of, hey, this is why it might be happening. It's not like, oh, I'm predicting the future and you're gonna fall,
Yeah.
Excuse me. And I think that's why it's so special. That's why I wanted you on the podcast today, so people could get a feel, and first to not just believe anything anybody tells them, but also a further education on, you don't have to really wait for somebody to tell you. You can also do your own research and educate yourself.
Yeah.
Now, I know you don't have much time, but I have this question,
Mm-hmm.
I don't really talk about music. I'm not really into the new age. I'm pretty much old school, but you know a lot, and like I said, I enjoy having our conversation now. I want to talk a little bit about music, and I want to see if you know a little bit about this because I'm curious to know. So, Megan Stallone, right? She got shot in the foot,
Mm-hmm.
right? And now Tory Lanez came out with his albums called Star Bright or Star Day, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And each song, I think I listened to like maybe 3 or 4 songs
Mm-hmm.
in order. I think it's either the first one and the second one that states something about how you get shoot in your foot and the bullet doesn't hit any tendons or bone.
Mm-hmm.
And I couldn't really, continue, but I wanted to know the story. I want to know your thoughts about it.
The Megan and Tori thing.
Yeah.
Okay, so I
mean, I actually, because I know you're well aware with pop culture. I don't have nobody else to talk to or ask. I'm just curious.
No, it's okay. I do think in general, Meg hasn't lied about that, nor has tried hiding the fact from all of that, Um, she's gone as far as posting her blood, like her foot online, her cast, her little like cast she had on it and everything. And even from a publicity end of things, you don't want to be the person that gets known as the person who got shot in the foot, So to say that she has gone to this whole extent to this point to still to just lie about it to get even more fame or more publicity or to make Tori look bad. She doesn't gain anything from making Tori look bad in the first place, really. She doesn't gain anything from that. And on the publicity end of things, you don't want to be known as a person who got shot in the foot,
Do we know, is it like public, I don't even know how to ask, like
has it been confirmed?
Yeah, no, not has it been confirmed. Has the authorities got into the, have his been, because I've read nothing or heard nothing about him getting arrested or an investigation or incarceration. I mean, because you shot somebody, that's fucking like 5 to 10, right?
Yeah. So as far as I'm aware, I think the case was still open. Like they were still actively working on the case. Which is why, if you're the person that is being supposedly like guilty or being investigated against, you can't necessarily, just admit that you did that while the case
but he like in some way or form, if you shoot somebody, right, and like she's stating it was Tory Lanez, it was Tory Lanez, it was Tory Lanez. He should be in police custody until proven guilty. You know, he
You are.
shouldn't. He shouldn't be out on the open or dropping a new album or on nothing to that extent, because the way the laws works, until you're proven guilty, you need a courtroom. But yeah, you're in contempt. You're somebody's accusing you, which it's illegal. It's not just you basically shot somebody. You know, it's
Mm-hmm.
almost like attempted murder. I'm not sure about the law. I apologize if I'm butchering this, but what I'm trying to say is you shot somebody. They accuse you. They know who you are. You're a public figure. You're not, some Joe around the street that nobody knows.
Yeah.
You're a platinum artist. Yeah, bro. You're supposed to be either at least locked in your house until further notice. And I think he lives in LA, I'm not mistaken. Or you should be in jail waiting for trial.
Yeah.
Waiting to be proven guilty or
Honestly,
innocent.
I'm not too sure about that side. I'm not sure if he was taken into custody, the bill was paid, or what necessarily was the thing revolving around that. But the way I kind of basically see it is, if this was all fake or this was all like, a ruse or something, and Megan was trying to gain some fame off of this, perhaps Megan would have put out a song, at least one song, with a line or with a verse pertaining to what happened. And she has done nothing of the sort. In fact, she put out WAP with Cardi B that has nothing to do with that,
Yeah.
and made it the #1 single.
I mean, I would think that, the way usually music it's understood is at its best is when you're going through something, like you go back to 2000 something when Usher made was it Confession. He was going through some shit. So music is at its best when you're trying to vent and show emotion. I would think, at least in a rap, that rap is very explicit, don't sugarcoat shit. She will come up with something like that.
But I do
And
think it goes back to the whole, she just doesn't want to be always known as the one who got shot in the foot.
yeah, but like if that's all you talk, like you go to the medias and that's all they're talking about. That's all they're talking about.
And she has made, in fact, live videos and have posted about it actively, crying and saying, I don't want to talk about it anymore. I don't want to speak about this anymore.
And
This happened.
if you don't do that. That's
I
I'm
think like it's something that was starting to get not necessarily put away, but we were starting to wind down on the publicity of all of it until Tory Lane just dropped his album again and put it right back again to the front of the conversation.
Yeah, I mean, this time it's not about her. It's about him now, saying his story, his point of view, in which the songs, each song has a slight, I want to say jab, because I haven't listened to the full album, but throw something in there to put a story. And a lot of the things I've heard and read through social media, because not even the fucking news report this. People are like sitting back and like, there's a problem between these two, and it should be left that way.
Mm-hmm.
And basically stop opinionating it, and there's something you need to step back and just leave it on them. That's their problem. But then you have Rick Ross that didn't listen to the album and started just throwing jabs at him like crazy.
Mm-hmm.
So it's I don't know, because it's like when Chris Brown put his hands on Rihanna, he was in jail. He got criticized, and I think Tory Lanez hasn't got that serious extent of just backlash as Chris Brown did.
I mean, granted though, did you ever read the police report as to what happened that night between Chris and Rihanna?
they were supposed. I know they were supposed to meet at an award show, and then they were found arguing. They fought in their um, what was it in their Lamborghini. That's when you got rich probably when you're fighting in a Lamborghini.
Yeah, the fight had started in the Lamborghini and then continued, I think, to the house. And I do remember back then they were trying to push some of the blame onto Rihanna, right, for what happened. But if you read the police reports as to what occurred or how they even found Rihanna and everything, like what really happened, he pulled like a horrific, like domestic abuse, like no excuse for the extent, of the things he did, right? And the thing with the Tory Lane is just that even when it happened, like when it fresh happened, nobody was trying to really explain like everything about it,
Yeah.
They weren't trying to even explain what they were doing at Kylie's house in the first place,
I was at Kylie's house.
That happened like by her house, I think, if I'm not
Oh,
mistaken.
yeah.
But it wasn't even explained what they were doing around there. They weren't even explaining like who was all together there. Was it really just her and him, or was there other people there? They never even explained the fight, They never even explained like how he got that gun out and just started shooting. Like they just never explained the full event of it, And a lot of it's been kept vague. A lot of it's been kept.
Yeah. When the story first came out, supposedly they were saying that she was basically fucking him up, and in order for her to stop, because he's known for carrying a gun, I believe,
Mm-hmm.
and she shot her in the foot. You know, if that's true or not, I don't know, but
There's also like the one where it's just like he was really drunk, and got angry in an argument with her. The other thing I think he's trying to insinuate is that she was jealous of the fact that he was feeling on Kylie. Like, it seems like there's just a lot of roundabout excuses or just like these other stories being made to try to take away the fact that makes it seem like Tory is straight up a bad guy. Do you know what I mean?
yeah, I mean, he's already a bad guy if he's shot in the foot. My thing is maybe because it's this pandemic that's been occurring for quite some time already.
Mm-hmm.
He hasn't received so much backlash, but yet again, we live in a social media time, so you don't really need to go anywhere. Just from your
Yeah.
phone and people talking and whatnot should be enough.
Yeah.
Because what happened with Chris Brown and Rihanna at that time, we in technology wise, we weren't so much advanced as where we're advanced now, and he got ridiculed.
Mm-hmm.
I think he got dropped from so many sponsors, shows, and whatnot. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe because Tory Lane's Canadian.
Yeah, he is
And
Canadian.
I don't know. It's weird. It's weird.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I want to know the outcome of it. I want to know.
I do too.
I want.
I think Tory deserves to be punished in some kind of way.
But what if it all was a lie? What if you got so much fucking money because she signed I think to Rock Nation, right?
I'm not sure who she signed to actually.
That's because she came out with that song with Beyonce. I think she signed with Rock Nation. But let's say if she signed with Rock Nation, right? Let's
Mm-hmm.
entertain that thought for a minute. And you gotta remember, Rock Nations is part of Jay-Z organization, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Jay-Z was the same person that once Rihanna called him and he had the situation with Chris Brown, he went for his neck.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, whether it's a personal or maybe I'm just talking out of my ass, but you know, things got difficult for Chris Brown. You know, and
Yeah.
maybe it is all lie, and the reason Tory Lane is getting all this backlash is because he fucks with 6ix9ine.
You think?
I don't know, but nowadays you can't. You know, like I said, we live in an age. Everything is such a gray line.
Mm-hmm.
Like you go back in the day of Tashaki, whatever, 6ix9ine. If he would have snitched, he would have been dead a long time ago.
Yeah.
I think the first time he would have gotten locked up, he would have been dead.
Yeah.
You know, but now he's running everywhere, and he's trying to beg for an interview. And you know, when he first came out, he was making videos from his house.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this one famous video of him, you know, saying, "Oh, you mad, and because a song came out, some shit like that."
Yeah.
But yeah, he would have been dead.
I do agree.
So
I'm not sure how he's been unharmed in every way.
and he's walking around with a damn wig.
I don't know how he's unharmed in any way. Like, he's not harmed at all.
I saw this video of him getting like it appeared to be like recent, but I saw this video of him like getting his ass whooped, and like he going as far that he shat his pants, and yeah, and I don't know if it's like they pulled it off the media, but it appeared to be recently because he recently had a cast in his arm, right? Oh, that was back.
I'm not sure.
It appeared to be recent. Now he's walking around New York, Los Angeles, you know, everywhere where just enjoying his money. Because he definitely ain't making no money. But yeah. So, thank you for joining me.
It's been a pleasure.
I'll have you back soon.
I'll be looking forward to it.
Thank you for joining us. Just, you know, check out her Instagram. Check her out. She's active. Let us know where to follow you at.
Okay, so you can follow me on Dulcita __ on Instagram.
Dulcita.
Yeah, honestly, that's my only social media.
All right, well, after this, hopefully she gets big.
Hopefully.
Thank you and have a good night.
Thank you. You too.
Bye.
Bye.